As he ironed his suit, memories of his mother, who always worried about him, flashed before his eyes like a montage. A few years ago, she had given it to him as a gift to celebrate his first job. But unfortunately, the days he wore that suit didn't last long. Imagining his mother waiting for his call, likely anxious in the countryside, made his eyes suddenly well up with tears. If she found out that her son was barely getting by on instant ramen, avoiding the landlady, what kind of expression would she make? In the end, he put on the only suit he owned and boarded the subway. It had been a long time since he'd felt the rush of a crowded space like this. The idea that he could finally blend in with everyone else even made him feel a bit euphoric. Though he was a bit rusty, he styled his hair neatly, the way he used to, and shaved the beard he hadn't touched for a month. A few women on the subway stole glances at him, likely noticing his sharp, clean look. Phew. I'm nervous, Taeyong, who had been anxiously chewing his lip, fidgeted with his tie and checked his phone repeatedly. Normally, he avoided using his phone in crowded places, but today was different. His old flip phone, which usually looked so outdated, seemed almost charming today, and he couldn't help but smile. Soon after, the train arrived at a station where a large crowd poured out. Even though he still had some time, Taeyong, always a worrier, hurriedly followed the throng of people. As he trailed behind them, a massive building came into view, far more imposing than he had imagined. He stopped for a moment, wide-eyed, before pulling himself together and stepping inside. Ah! This place, while the outside had felt familiar, stepping inside made him realize something. This was JK Mall, a world-famous luxury department store with a strong domestic presence and growing international acclaim. He felt a bit foolish for not paying closer attention to Hoseok's explanation last night, but he was ready to work wherever they needed him. The 13th floor, right? Despite it being the middle of the day, the lines for the elevator were long, thanks to the bustling crowd. I can't be late. Feeling anxious, Taeyong glanced around and spotted an empty elevator at the end of the hall. He quickly made his way over, just in time to catch the door before it closed, grinning in relief. Thank you. Though no one had waited for him, Taeyong smiled warmly as he stepped inside and stood up straight, pressing the button for the 13th floor. In the quiet of the elevator, he found himself admiring the luxurious surroundings. His gaze wandering until it landed on the man standing next to him. Hello, almost instinctively, Taeyong greeted the man, who had been staring at him with a cold expression. He added an awkward smile to his greeting, but the man's brows furrowed slightly before he turned his head away without a word. Cute face, but a cold personality, huh? Taeyong thought, pouting slightly as he checked his watch again out of habit. Ding. The elevator chimed as it arrived at the 13th floor, and Taeyong, lost in thought, glanced at the 20th floor button that was also lit. As the doors opened, he snapped out of it and hurried out, turning to bow slightly. Have a good day. His polite gesture caught the attention of everyone in the elevator, including the man from earlier, who silently watched as the doors closed. Without another glance, the man averted his gaze. Hello. I'm Kim Taeyong, reporting for work today. Taeyong entered one of the luxury stores, bowing to the man who seemed to be the manager. The man, who had a kind expression, removed his white gloves and smiled warmly. Ah, you're the one Hoseok introduced. Welcome. I'm Yoo Suk-hyun, the store manager. The two exchanged a brief handshake. Suk-hyun seemed pleased with Taeyong's handsome appearance. I asked Hoseok for help because we were short on staff, but I didn't expect someone so good-looking to come. Ah. Thank you. First, let me show you around the store. Taeyong followed Suk-hyun as he gave a quick tour of the large store. Eventually, they stopped as Suk-hyun asked him a question. I got your resume online yesterday. You're 26, right? You've heard of our brand, haven't you? It's perfect for someone your age. Oh, yes. In truth, Taeyong wasn't particularly interested in luxury brands. But, trying to act knowledgeable, he nodded and gave a vague answer. I've only heard of it, but this is my first time seeing it in person. Everything's really beautiful. Huh, it's fine if you don't know much. Honestly, owning luxury goods isn't easy. Our store carries one of the most expensive brands, and our main clientele are young men. Our best-selling items are trendy accessories. Taeyong nodded quietly, letting out a small sigh of awe. The job itself is simple. We don't actively approach customers. They choose what they want, and we handle the checkout and packaging. Lately, more customers have been looking for new arrivals, so we also introduce those. The key thing is not to speak to customers unless they ask you something first. Also, you'll need to maintain a refined attitude to match the brand image. Since the items are so expensive, you'll need to be extra careful when displaying them to avoid any scratches. To his surprise, Taeyong found the explanation straightforward and nodded in agreement. We work in 2 shifts, morning and afternoon. You'll mostly be on the morning shift. Okay. I'll be training you, so if you have any questions, feel free to ask. For now, you'll work full-time with me until you get the hang of things. Watch how I work and learn from it. Yes, understood. At the counter, Sukhyun handed Taeyong a pair of white gloves, then suddenly remembered something and let out an "ah," and there's one important rule that all department store employees know. The chairman of JK Group's grandson is really into luxury brands. Whenever we get new stock, he's the first to visit. The story sounded like something out of a drama, and Taeyong's eyes widened in surprise. When he visits, you always have to show him the new arrivals first. He knows fashion so well that he can spot items from even just 1 season ago. Wow. That's impressive. And if you don't show him the new items? Let's just say that employee won't be working here much longer. It's not a rumor, it's a fact. As long as you remember that, you'll do just fine. Smiling nervously in response to Sukhyun's grin, Taeyong felt a sense of unease creeping in. This isn't good. I don't know anything about this industry. A growing sense of anxiety settled over Taeyong.